So hello everyone, it's really lovely to be here and thanks again to TICTeC for inviting us to speak. So my name is Becky McMillan and I'm part of the digital strategy team at Manchester City Council. Unfortunately, our digital strategy lead, Sherelle Fairweather, couldn't be with us today, but I'm really excited to be talking to you all about our work on the People's Panel for AI, a project that explores how we can democratise approaches to artificial intelligence, shift the balance of power in decision making, and enable more people in our city to influence the development of AI-enabled services. So over the next 20 minutes, I'm going to give a brief introduction to Manchester for anyone that's not familiar. I'm going to share an overview of our digital strategy, and then I'm going to dive into the aims, the outcomes, and the future plans for our People's Panel for AI. So first, say hello to Manchester. So if you can't already tell from my accent, we're a city that's based in the northwest of England, one of 10 boroughs in the Greater Manchester City region. And now when I was putting this talk together, I actually found out a fun fact about Manchester. Apparently, we are the third most popular city destination for international travellers to the UK. So firstly, I just wanted to ask in the room, could you put your hand up if you've been to Manchester before? Okay, amazing. So you might already know what I'm about to tell you. So alongside being known for our football clubs and our music, we're the sixth biggest city in the UK, with a population of almost 600,000. The scale of both the opportunity and the challenge is staggering. We're a city that has many strengths. So we are the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution. We've got a rich history of innovation, and that shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. We're considered to be the fastest growing tech hub in the north of England and the biggest outside of London and the southeast. Our AI sector is one of the strongest in the UK, and for the last 2 years, Manchester has topped the AI SAS AI Cities Index as the most AI-ready city outside of London. We've got 3 world-class universities that fuel a steady stream of graduates, and we're also home to one of the largest student populations in Europe. And we're also a really proudly multicultural city, with an estimated 200 languages spoken in the city centre alone. And that diversity is a key part of Manchester's identity and continues to shape our social and cultural landscapes. But not all of our communities benefit equally from these successes. We've got high levels of deprivation in parts of the city that have created really stark disparities in wealth and access. And despite significant progress that's been made in recent years, the profound effects of poverty and inequality still negatively impact the lives of too many people in Manchester and limiting resilience, choice, and opportunity. Like many other cities in the UK, we're also grappling with the many challenges of digital exclusion. In Greater Manchester alone, there are over 450,000 people classified as non-users of the internet, lacking the connectivity, resources, and skills needed to fully participate in modern society. So we know to build a more inclusive city for everyone in Manchester, we need to change the way that we work with communities to help more people access the benefits of digital innovation. So we see the digital strategy as an enabler for approaches that help us realise the society we want and the technologies that can help us get there. And the society that we want to build is one that's genuinely inclusive. So a little bit more about doing digital together. So our 5-year digital strategy looks at the role that digital and technology plays in the city as a whole, and how we can use that to make life better for people in our communities. We always place people at the heart of our plans, and the strategy sets out some key priorities to realise Manchester's ambitions of becoming a world-leading digital city. Now, as a team, we've got quite a broad remit. We've got 34 projects that span across 4 different areas. You can see some of them there, which include digital inclusivity, infrastructure, economic growth, and sustainability. But all of that looking at the fundamental question of how we centre human needs and values to build a future that includes everybody in Manchester. So this April, we launched our delivery plan, which translates our strategic vision into practical actions. So our annual delivery plan drives the delivery of our strategy, defines the area of focus, and sets out the objectives and aims in the wider digital strategy, which we deliver collaboratively with partners across the city. So on to why we are really here today, and I apologise for some of the formatting, it does seem to have messed up. But I want to firstly talk to you about our motivation, our why behind this project and the People's Panel for AI. So whether or not you're choosing to actively engage with artificial intelligence, the services you use and the way that you interact with the world around you is inevitably going to be impacted by AI in some capacity. Opting out, for a lot of people, is no longer an option. But while decision-making around AI affects everybody, not everybody is included in those decisions. So there are unquestionably huge opportunities for AI to improve public service delivery and make a positive difference in people's lives. And on the right-hand side of the screen there, I've highlighted some case studies from the Local Governments Association's online bank, which showcases some really inspiring examples of the way that local authorities in the UK are using AI to deliver real benefits to people in their community. And obviously, over the last day, there's been some really great examples shared here. But if we, speaking as ourselves as a local authority, fail to include all of our communities in conversations about how AI is being used in services that impact their daily lives, we risk embedding AI in ways that exacerbate existing inequalities and create new forms of exclusion. Residents who already struggle to navigate or access online spaces are even less likely to be included in conversations around AI and are significantly more vulnerable to online harms. In Greater Manchester, we have over 1.2 million residents that are currently at risk of digital exclusion. And exposed to all of the many extraordinary, terrifying, contradictory, confusing messages about AI, how do you parse truth from fiction? How do you participate in shaping systems that you can't understand, you can't trust, and you can't reach? While it's undeniable that some of the narratives around AI can be incredibly hyperbolic, and for an example of this, you can look at some of their headlines on the right, warning about the terrifying rise of AI slaughterbots programmed to kill. We do need to be conscious that it's all too easy to buy into the hype of AI without taking the time to fully consider the wider consequences and risks of adoption. So what about AI? There we go. AI is capable of wonderful things, but its potential harms are significant. To build systems that are ethical and inclusive, there are important questions that we need to consider. How could the systems we create be misused for purposes other than which they're intended? And if the design of the system itself is flawed, what are the real-world consequences for people? I don't know if anybody remembers a story about Amazon's experiments with AI-enabled recruitment, but it's a really good example of what happens when a system's designed with entrenched bias. For anyone that's not heard this story before, the recruitment tool was trained on the resumes of Amazon's existing employees, who at that time happened to be mostly male. So you can guess what happened next. The AI taught itself that the male candidates were preferable, so disadvantaged resumes from female applicants. Thankfully, in this case, the system's flaws were identified during testing, but that's not always the case. AI systems, when designed poorly, can cause lasting damage in the lives of real people, and it's really important that we don't forget that. 1 second. There we go. Through the People's Panel for AI, we wanted to empower residents from different socio-economic backgrounds to access the education and skills needed to meaningfully shape the use of AI in frontline service delivery. To achieve that, our approach focused on building digital literacy in areas most at risk of exclusion, rebuilding public trust in AI, and integrating community voice in the development of services to shift the balance of power. In short, placing people-informed AI at the heart of public service delivery to mitigate bias and promote socially conscious innovation. So what did the People's Panel for AI look like in practice? Now, it's really important to say that this project was delivered in partnership with an incredible team of researchers from Manchester Metropolitan University, and I will give them a shout out: Keely Crockett, Annabelle Latham, and Mohammed Kaleem. I'd really encourage you to look them up and have a look at their work. They had already created the model for delivery as part of an earlier project with the Alan Turing Institute in 2022. So using the model developed by MMU, we were able to deliver the People's Panel for AI in 4 phases. In phase 1, we launched community roadshows in areas of Manchester identified as facing a greater likelihood of digital exclusion, using the DERI, the Digital Exclusion Risk Index, which was a tool created by Greater Manchester Combined Authority based on work that came out of Salford, to examine the relative risk of digital exclusion across different boroughs. Roadshows were free, open to anyone to attend, and based in local community spaces. The sessions were also delivered by genuine experts in AI, so that's Keely, Annabelle, and Kaleem, not ourselves, covering an introduction to AI, its impact on everyday life, and a look into the ethical issues surrounding its use. And these were not one-way academic lectures or presentations. The sessions were designed to be fun and interactive and spark conversation, to open up that discussion in an environment that was really safe, familiar, and welcoming. In phase 2, Keely, Annabelle, and Kaleem delivered 2 days of training for residents who had signed up to the People's Panel. This included looking at AI research and systems to question, debate, and discuss the use of AI in real-world applications. So essentially, phase 2 was about equipping residents with the confidence and knowledge to share their insights with service leads. Phase 3 was the launch of the People's Panel itself. providing a platform where residents could engage directly with services to question and collaborate on use cases and applications. In this phase, service leads pitched a potential or existing use case of AI from within their service areas to the panel. Using consequence scanning, which is a technique for exploring ethical aspects of new technologies, panel members then discussed their ideas, questions, and concerns with the presenters. And finally, phase 4, taking those panel recommendations and reports forward to inform AI deployment in participating services. And here, can we get my other slide up? Oh, I did have on some lovely slides of some photographs, but it's not letting me. There we go. There you go. So here you can see a few snapshots from that journey and some of the residents who we were really fortunate to have participate in that programme, and also me on the bottom there. So we've had some incredibly encouraging outcomes from this stage of the People's Panel. We engaged 41 residents from neighbourhoods disproportionately impacted by social and economic challenges in our initial roadshows, from an extremely diverse range of backgrounds. In the communities we focused on, the barriers to participation were incredibly high, so reaching residents who might not regularly have access to similar opportunities was a real success. We also felt that the roadshows had set out what they intended to do in terms of promoting digital literacy. The feedback from before and after the roadshows shows that the attendees really felt that their understanding of AI had improved, with those metrics improving by 30% on average. Beyond that, one of the really big successes from the project has been achieving buy-in with services who were keen to open up that dialogue with residents. So we had participation from Tech-Enabled Care, Transport for Greater Manchester, and Citizens Advice, who all took part in the first round of People's Panel, and really embraced the opportunity to engage with the insights, opportunities, and lived experiences that were shared, and also to open themselves up to perspectives beyond the organisational bubble. And going forward, the recommendations from the People's Panel will inform the future development of their services. Sharing learnings from the project, as I suppose we are doing now, has also been really important in advocating for community engagement in the development of AI-enabled services, and has also opened up new opportunities and connections within the wider Tech for Good space, including a successful bid to join Community, a Horizon-funded Tech for Good project. And finally, just a really nice story to share. Since the first round of People's Panels ended, we actually had 2 residents who took part get back in touch with us to say that their experiences on the panel had inspired them to enrol in further formal learning courses around AI. So to hear that taking part in the project had made a really genuine, lasting and meaningful individual impact was honestly kind of one of the most rewarding outcomes that we could have hoped for. So what have we learned from the People's Panel? What is important for us to take forward? Firstly, trust building is crucial. We were so fortunate to be working with a team that had a lot of experience in developing those relationships with residents and community organisations, and we were happy to be led by the experts. Practically, we promoted the roadshows in trusted community spaces, and we compensated panellists in recognition of their contributions. Even more importantly, we ensured that panellists had the opportunity to put their training into practice and take part in real-world conversations with public sector leaders. Community engagement has got to be genuine. To build trust, residents need to feel and know that they've been listened to and that their insights are going to be carried forward. Secondly, accessibility really mattered. To help as many people as possible take part in the training, we needed to do everything that we could to mitigate those barriers to access, including challenges around location, language, and expense. So small actions such as offering transport for residents with mobility needs and arranging a translator for residents who didn't have English as a first language made a huge difference in who could take part in the first place. Embracing these challenges and adapting to the needs of residents was crucial in opening up the People's Panel to a much wider range of communities and empowering residents who might not otherwise have an awful lot of opportunities to share their views. Thirdly, our approach needed to be data-informed. We used GMCA's Digital Exclusion Risk Index to pinpoint the areas of Manchester most at risk of digital exclusion. This helped us to identify the communities we thought would be least likely to be included in conversations around AI and have fewer opportunities to access education and training. So in other words, we targeted areas where the data suggested that intervention was needed. And finally, none of this would have been possible without the collaboration of our partners. Achieving that buy-in from academia, services, and community organisations was absolutely crucial. From a very early stage, championing the why and explaining the value of the project was vital in bringing others along with us on the journey. So what is next for us? Last month, our digital inclusion team, who we work with very closely, partnered with Manchester Metropolitan University once again to deliver a free training workshop for voluntary community and social enterprises, which are known in the UK as VCSEs. Hosted by Healthy Me, Healthy Communities, which was a local community hub. The session explored the risks, opportunities, and ethics of AI to explore how generative AI tools could be used to amplify the impact of their work and benefit their communities. This training session represents the first step towards integrating training materials from the People's Panel for AI into our wider digital inclusion offer and to extend those benefits to more people in Manchester. And through supporting VCSEs to develop their own independent expertise around AI, essential knowledge can be widely shared with the communities that they support, helping more residents navigate emerging technologies confidently and safely. Having strong AI literacy skills could also help VCSEs to improve their operational practices, to scale the impact of their existing services, and enable those organisations to respond more effectively to the evolving needs of their communities. So again, the outcomes from this workshop have been really encouraging. We've seen that there was a huge demand for accessible, local and low-cost training opportunities that support communities to make more informed decisions, to understand how technologies affect them, and to share that knowledge with others. VCSEs felt that the workshop was helpful in boosting their understanding and confidence in using artificial intelligence. And 2/3 of the VCSEs estimated that following the workshop, they'd each be able to support between 10 and 100 of their service users to engage more safely and confidently with AI. So going forwards, we'll continue to look at how we can embed learning from the People's Panel into existing policies and the development of the City Council's AI policy. And of course, we'll continue to advocate for the representation of diverse community voices in the development of public service, modelling good morals, transparency and citizen engagement in practice. We're also committed to nurturing the wider Tech for Good community through a small series of events, including a Winter On conference, which is planned for later this year. So in summary, we believe that everybody deserves to benefit equally from innovations in AI. So through the People's Panel, we wanted to ensure that AI-enabled services better align with the needs and values of communities, address the challenges of digital exclusion, increase access to services, and integrate community voice into AI-enabled service development. We still have a very long way to go, but the project has really underlined the importance of engaging with residents to build that shared understanding of AI and the way it affects our communities. AI is going to play a bigger role in all our lives. And very soon, it will be integrated into everyday public service delivery. As a local authority, we feel it's our responsibility to make sure that those services are designed with the needs of the people we serve in mind, including those millions who might be at risk of digital exclusion. Technological progress without social consideration only entrenches inequality. The People's Panel for AI, we hope, creates space for residents to understand, influence, and lead how AI is embedded in the services that impact them. And that's a crucial step towards realising that vision of the society we want, a fairer and more inclusive society. So thank you very, very much for listening to me. And if you're, if you're interested in learning more about the digital strategy, you can scan the QR code. And I'd be really, I would love to speak to anybody who's got any kind of advice or tips on how we can embed this more broadly going forwards, or anybody who's doing a similar project. But thank you very much.